Hello, guys. I saw a post earlier today by someone who was talking about why giving to pastors and preachers is so important and stuff like that. And he was kind of complaining about uh, what he called a trend where some of the criticisms against preachers and pastors and all that was uh, uh, was sort of a criticism against giving to the work of God. And uh, there's something that we need to make very clear because I think a lot of people are not very honest when it comes to these kind of conversations. They're not very honest. They try to put up this look like, you know, they're caring, they're trying to care for preachers or they're trying to care for the work of God. But a lot of times it's just dishonesty. And I say this because here's the fact, or here's the truth. The truth is that there is really no believer that has a problem with giving to people who do the work of God. Okay. I grew up in a church where we went to Sunday school, and things like that. And one of the things that we did very freely when we were growing up, or the church did very freely was that they took care of the pastors. They took care of the brethren generally. Okay. But, took care of the brethren, took care of the pastors. I remember back in the days, they used to have harvest ceremonies, whatever it was called then back then. And people would bring food items and other, things to the church during that harvest festival, whatever it was called. And I remember back then that when those things are brought to the church, the church administration would gather those things that people bring, and one thing they would do is that they will share it. They will give a good portion, of course, to the pastor. They will give a portion to some other people. They will give portions to maybe widows, orphans. And they will give portions to poor people, poor members of the church who they believe are in need. Maybe people who have lost their jobs or going through certain crises. They will give them portions. And the truth is that nobody ever had a problem with that. I remember back then, nobody ever complained about it. Nobody ever complained about giving to such. In fact, people were inspired to give to give because of what they saw that their offerings and their whatever they brought was used for. So this new narrative, like when preachers are criticized for being lavish and flamboyant and exorbitant, and then some people will come around and say, "Oh, you are you are criticizing preachers because you're selfish, because you don't want to give to the work of God." And all. It's nonsense. It's actually nonsense because, like I said, the people who say such things are dishonest. They're dishonest. There's there's really no criticism out there that is against giving generally. No, the criticisms are not against giving. The criticisms are against people, or preachers, pastors who are exploiting people, who are exploiting the people of God, who are exploiting the poor, who are manipulating people. That is the criticism. Some of us have never stopped giving to missionaries. We gladly give to missionaries. I don't have to mention names and all that, but we gladly give to missionaries. Maybe some of you are not aware, but there are still a lot of missionaries out there in the world today. Especially in a place like Nigeria, for example, there are a lot of missionaries working in places like the North. Many of you are not aware. In fact, many of you who come to Facebook to claim that you are givers, sometimes when I see you talk, I practically laugh because I am aware of missionaries out there in the field that are actually going through dangerous situations to push the gospel out there. And by the grace of God, these are people we freely give to. without hesitation. But some of you come up and say, oh, I'm a giver, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm sponsoring the work of God. And all you do is give to a pastor somewhere who uses the money to buy flashy cars. And you come on Facebook and you say all kinds of things. You're really not a giver. You're not a giver. You're not a giver. I'm talking about from the perspective of God. You're not a giver. You're just probably you're a show off. That's what you are. But you like to call yourself a giver because you can give tithe and offering and first fruit and all that stuff to one flamboyant preacher out there who doesn't care about anyone but himself. You're not a giver to God. You are just a show off. You remember the story of Matthew 25 that Jesus gave? He said, on that day, there were two sets of people. And God said to the first set, He said, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was thirsty and you didn't give me to drink. And that set of people said to him, Lord, when did we know? Then when did we not do these things? We thought we did these things. Actually, if you read the conversation, the story Jesus said, and the conversation of that story, you will see that those set of people were actually surprised. They were kind of surprised. In fact, the two sets of people were surprised, but surprised for different reasons. The first set was like, you mean we didn't give? We gave now. Why are you telling us we didn't give? Why are you saying we didn't give? But we gave. But the Lord said to them, you didn't give me. You didn't give. And he gave the reason why. Why? What was the reason? He said, as long as you didn't give to the least, to these little ones, these insignificant people, in quote, as long as you didn't give to them, you didn't give to me. So in your own eyes, you gave. And what was the giving you did? You did mega giving to one mega project. You did so you sowed a seed to buy your pastor a brand new car, to add to his 4 cars. That's what you did. That's what you did. That's what they did. You gave so that they could call you the biggest giver of the year, the biggest giver of the month, the biggest giver of your branch or parish. And they probably gave you an award. But the Lord said, you didn't give to me. I don't know you. I don't recognize what you gave. You didn't give to me. And he said, depart from me. And to the other set, the reverse was the case. The opposite was the case. He said, come into my presence. I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me to drink. I was naked, you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. And they said, they had the opposite reaction. And they said, Lord, when did we do that? Because we probably cannot recall when we did that. I probably cannot recall when I gave you, when you were hungry, I gave you food to eat. I can't recall that. And the Lord said, as long as you did it to the least, as long as you did it to the least of these ones, you did it to me. Now, I find that second group very, very interesting. Why I find it specifically very interesting is this. The fact that they could not even remember, in quote, when they gave, it's very important. It's very important. It wasn't because they had bad memory. No, it was because, one, they gave, and they gave so freely. In their minds, they were not really like doing anything special. Somebody comes to you, you're hungry, and the person is hungry, and you say, oh, you're hungry. Oh, what do we do now? Okay, I have some food, or I have some money. Please take now, go and eat. And the next minute, you forget about it. Maybe some of you have had maybe some people have had, some of you are listening to me, and have had that kind of experience before. Where maybe something, maybe with your family member or something, and you do something and you can't even remember that you did such things. And maybe 2, 3 weeks, 1 month later, the person says, or years later, the person sees you and says, sir, do you remember me? So, what, you're that guy? I say, I can't remember actually. I can't actually remember when I gave you that thing, when I gave you, but oh, thank God. Because one, when people give like that, you're giving out of, you know, they don't even see, they don't think it like I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to show something, I'm trying to, demonstrate. No, they just give. They just pure love giving, sacrifice. You don't even remember. That's your mind. In fact, you're thinking of the next thing. You're thinking of the next person. So that was the scenario there. They gave, and again, the second reason they didn't remember is because what they gave, some of those cases, what they gave was so small. Somebody was hungry and gave him a plate of food. You're not going to put it at the back of your mind that you give him a plate of food. So you did it so freely, and it's just don't worry, I'm glad I did it. But the other sets of givers, in quotes, were people who were giving for show. So anytime they gave their 100 million, anytime they gave their 10 million, anytime they gave their 1 million, whatever they gave to the church or to the pastor or to whatever things they were giving to, they did it with all the consciousness and all the expectations of praise and expectations of recognition. And the Lord said to them, you didn't give to me. And the third thing that I want to mention that is very significant there, listen to what the Lord said there. He said, as long as you didn't give to the least of the brethren, you didn't give to me. In other words, the giving that God actually recognized, and I've said this before, I've posted about this before, that the giving that God really, really recognized is the giving to the needy. Giving to God is giving to the needy. Giving to God is not giving to somebody so you can build a big auditorium. That's not giving to God. Auditorium that is going to be turned into a cinema maybe sometime. That's not giving to God. That's not giving to God. That's not giving to God. Giving to God is giving to the needy around you and giving to the needs of people around you. That is what it means to give. So a lot of you go around you pride yourself as givers, big givers. And what do you really do? You're just giving to all those show activities in your denomination. And you say you're a big giver. You're not a giver. You're a giver when you begin to give to the needy around you. You're a giver when you begin to help those around you, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's colleagues, it doesn't matter. But as soon as you begin to genuinely, and without a craving for recognition, without a craving for applause, begin to give to those around you, begin to help those around you, then you're really, really giving to God. Then you're really, really giving to God. That is the God kind of giving. That is the kind of giving that Jesus did when he died on the cross. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. This turned out to be a longer video than I planned, but let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to the right things. Let's go back to walking in righteousness and doing the very will of God. God bless.